Continuation, Bantu, the Human Language, Genetics, Part 2. Different types of ancient human beings. The labeling of different types of ancient human beings is not yet complete, and there are some complications to discuss first. For reasons related to academic violence against human beings, humans have been phylogenetically mislabeled and intentionally separated. Human beings of all types should be labeled as co-species, just like chimpanzees and bonobos. The label Homo sapien refers to everyone and no one in particular. The labels I will be using for current convention are Homo erectus sapien, Homo habilis sapien, and Neanderthal sapien. Beyond these labels, I am forced to use mere descriptions to identify ancient human types. Final classification of different ancient types of human beings should follow the 23 main divisions under the 3 domains of bacteria, archaic bacteria, and eukarya. Some living humans have genetic fractals that are intact relics. Humans have become refined looking at specific and different rates. Older original genetic fractal change rates are different than crossbred fractal change rates. The first ancient type of human that I will show is this type, which has representatives over a wide geographical range in Africa and Arabia. This type is referred to as Homo habilis sapien. This specific type developed near South Central Africa's rainforest, and this type in Northwest Africa. The skull is long and flat on top, and this type is characterized by large eye sockets and a short, wide nose which slopes directly off of the forehead. The next major human type is this type of human, which is referred to as Homo erectus sapien. Both of these skulls were found in Kenya, Africa, and both are about 2 million years old. Homo erectus sapien type human beings are characterized by protruding eyebrow bones and a skull hollow next to the eyes. The nose comes straight out from the face, and the eyes are slightly to fully almond, related to light level exposure to tropical clouds near large bodies of water. This beautiful fellow is from Papua New Guinea, although his ancestors migrated from northeast Africa. This fellow is a representative of the ancient human type I refer to as prominent browed nub and trapezoid cheek. Most of this ancient human type migrated to South America. Crosses with the prominent brow nub and trapezoid cheek type are very easy to identify in many modern peoples. This next ancient type I refer to as prominent cheek and jawbone type, and this fellow's type is from Arabia originally. The straight nose with the bulbous tip and pinched outside eye tissue are characteristic of this ancient type. Here is a similar Arabian ancient human type. One of the main types of human beings is labeled as Neanderthal sapien. 2 main Neanderthal sapien types stand out. I do not have a good picture of the one type, but it is easily recognizable by the eyebrows being above the eyebrow bone. The eyes are deep set or sunken with a shadow around them, and the nose is upturned. Many of the peoples labeled as Celtic are from ancient Neanderthal populations, and their behavior is typical of ancient humans. They are fierce people with good hearts. Behavioral transfer over millions of years is impressive. The second main type of Neanderthal is this type, and it is characterized by small eye sockets with much less bony eyebrows. The skull type is square with a small pointy chin. The ears are small and sometimes pointed. Overall, the features are sharp and refined. The nose is triangular and only slightly upturned. Crosses with this type produce a nose which comes out from the face and looks like a duckbill. This next ancient human type I describe as prominent cheeks and chin. This type sometimes has a nose which is hooked like a beak. This ancient type I describe as bird-like, with large round eye sockets and a long straight nose. This ancient type has many representatives. This next ancient type I describe as having bony protrusions all around the eye sockets. I have described only a very few of the ancient types of human beings, but I expect a more complete analysis in the near future. The conclusion of multiple independent transformation into human beings of multiple types of great apes over large geographical areas is reflected in the genetic fractal record. Most human diversity is still found in Africa. Europe and India have the largest percentage of peoples who are crosses of ancient types. This beauty right here is a cross of the ancient type Homo habilis sapien and the prominent cheek and jawbone type. And these people are referred to as Polynesians. My genetic profile includes Homo habilis sapien type, my eye sockets, and overall skull type, Homo erectus sapien type, my nose and almond eyes, Neanderthal sapien type, my upturned nose and deep-set eyes, prominent jaw and cheekbone type, round cheek and chin type, and brow nub and trapezoid cheek type. Behaviorally, I am the Homo habilis sapien type. Part of the way I look at you is Homo erectus type behavior. This side look is signature of Homo erectus sapien. The way I look at you is also representative of Neanderthal behavior. The look is very alert and present, animalistic, like a beast. The way I think is representative of the Homo habilis type. I am simple, and when I am not reconstructing events recorded in the human mind and body over 15 million years ago, I can be found sitting next to a tree, playing with bugs and rocks. I find Homo habilis type behavior to be the broadest and most developed of any human type. The historical behavioral profile of Homo erectus sapien and Neanderthal sapien types does not even come close to the range of the Homo habilis sapien type. I hope I have given some good examples of how to identify ancient human types. Modern human variation reflects those types developed 16.5 to 14 million years ago, or crosses of those types during migrations. The living fossil record and the genetic fractal can be used to construct a living human tree of life. Sometime between 16.5 and 6 million years ago, human beings in Africa created the human language called Bantu. Based on the linguistic record, the genetic fractal record, the geological record, and the historical record, the human language was taught to Arabian humans by African humans prior to the 6.3 million year migrations caused by the drying up of the Mediterranean Ocean. I will discuss some of the linguistic and historical record and behavioral historical record in another presentation. The ancient human types and ethnic groups related to a language dialect family predate the 6.3 million year migrations. Between the 6.3 million year migrations and the 2 million year migrations, groups formed from ancient human types and cross types, and these populations speak the subdialects in a Bantu language dialect family. Very few new dialects appear after the 2 million year migrations. The populations dispersed 6.3 million years ago stayed put after sea levels rose and the Mediterranean Ocean permanently refilled 5.3 million years ago. The refilling of the Mediterranean Ocean 5.3 million years ago began the melting of the southern edge of the Eurasian ice sheet. At the end of the major melt-off of the Eurasian ice sheet 2.4 million years ago, the weather in Africa and Polynesia became colder. Slowly, steadily, and recognizably, the ice ages became colder between 2.4 and 2 million years ago, resulting in the 2 million year migrations. The 2 million year migrations were mainly a large population of one human type from Papua New Guinea and other types from Australia returned migrating to Africa to find out what was going on with the weather. Many other small migrations occurred within Africa, Arabia, India, and other populated areas related to weather changes and habitat loss. The 2 million year migrations are notable genetically in the extensive crossbreeding of humans type Homo erectus sapien from Papua New Guinea with other populations in Africa and Arabia. The genetic assimilation of human types migrating from Polynesia to Africa and Arabia left few linguistic traces. The genetic traces of the extensive Homo erectus sapien crossbreeding are seen in the nose form of many peoples and most prominently in the new almond eye feature shared by many peoples. The return migrations to Africa 2 million years ago were made using boats due to the speed of the migrations and the fact that the peoples involved in the migrations were from different islands. The 2 million year migrations begin an extensive process of human contact. Although the majority of peoples stayed in their original areas after the 2 million year migrations, crossbreeding became common in most human populations. Even though crossbreeding increased within multiple ancient type combined populations, genetic attraction and similar behavioral pattern compatibility had a limiting effect on crossbreeding. The increased contact after the 2 million year migrations had many behavioral effects on human beings. The beginning of widespread human civilization recorded in the human history record at 1.45 million years ago corresponds to the widespread use of stone tools to make wooden tools. Civilization around 1.5 million years ago had basic agriculture, animal domestication, textiles, math, arts and crafts, and social organization. Related to and especially after the process of widespread civilization development between 2 and 1.45 million years ago, patterns of genetic combination within human populations changed. Among some of the effects were some people's increased contact and crossbreeding and some people's increased isolation. The next major genetic combination and migration period began dramatically 730,000 years ago with a cosmic impact on the Sunda Shelf, which was above sea level at the time. The cosmic impact caused widespread global weather changes, changed the polarity of the Earth, and altered human behavior in specific areas. The weather changes associated with the cosmic impact include growing deserts in Arabia and Africa and the beginning of the full melt-off of the Eurasian ice sheet. The 730,000-year migrations are larger in scale than the 6.3 million year migrations, and most of the populations in Arabia and North Africa were displaced. As the Arabian deserts grew, most Arabian populations migrated northwest into Europe, north and northeast into Eurasia. Populations migrating northwest into Europe are characterized by a high percentage of Neanderthal sapien types. The European migrations produced a high percentage of multiple cross-type peoples, only matched by India. The migrations north over the Caucasus Mountains into Eurasia included one of the types of ancient Homo erectus sapiens, which can be identified in modern Russian populations and related to modern population types in Egypt and South Korea. Modern Russian populations include a high proportion of one ancient type of Neanderthal sapien. Many of the Kyrgyz people are related to the ancient type I describe as trapezoid cheek and prominent brow nub type. Many ancient Arabian human types not represented in Europe are in Eurasia. The populations migrating northeast into Eurasia included many of those populations of ancient human types which would later migrate by land to North America. These populations settled in what is now the Takliman Desert area. Several population groups did not migrate north out of Arabia 730,000 years ago, but traveled east. These include one population group which is now referred to as Polynesians, one population group made up of the majority of the ancient trapezoid cheek and prominent brow nub type, and the population groups which would settle on the Sunda Shelf area. Populations settling on the Sunda Shelf would later migrate by sea to North and South America. These populations include many small ancient Neanderthal type populations. As the Sahara Desert grew in North Africa, populations living in Northwest Africa around the Atlas Mountains migrated east to Asia. These North African populations avoided going north for behavioral and historical reasons, and instead traveled by sea around Arabia to India. Beginning on the northeast Indian coast, populations began settling and then migrating north as the Eurasian ice sheet fully melted. The rest of these North African populations settled along the Asian shoreline and migrated north and inland. What defines Asians as Asians is development in Northwest Africa. The 730,000-year migrations out of Africa and Arabia took about 100,000 years, or one ice age cycle, to populate Eurasia. Human beings show up in the fossil record in Italy 710,000 years ago, and in northeast China 650,000 years ago. Smaller groups in Africa migrated independently during the 730,000-year migrations and are dispersed in Europe, Eurasia, India, and Asia. The next two major periods of human migration after the 730,000-year migrations occur around 40,000 years ago, related to weather and historical events and the 12,000-year migrations at the end of the last ice age. The die-off or extermination of most of the ancient Neanderthal populations in Eurasia between 50 and 36,000 years ago is a major genetic event. After, colonization of the Americas by people living on the Sunda Shelf could have begun 40,000 years ago, or be restricted to the migration after the end of the last ice age, when the Sunda Shelf was flooded. After the end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, the populations living on the Sunda Shelf dispersed to Africa, Europe, and Eurasia, with the majority of the population sailing directly across the Pacific Ocean to North and South America. Some of the Sunda Shelf populations traveled by ocean-going canoe on a northern route and landed on the Pacific Northwest coast before migrating inland. One of the major changes after the end of the last ice ages was the die-off of the mastodons around 9,000 years ago. Because most of the migrations over the last 10,000 years are within easy historical reach, I will end my discussion of human migrations. It is entirely possible to construct a picture of the human tree of life fractal, and the full story will be part of the complete analysis. Human populations form a genetic collective, which is similar to bacteria genetics. Humans are an advanced form of bacteria in symbiotic relationships with many organisms. Any competent analysis of human type distribution will identify people of all ancient types being included in and defined by modern language dialect, modern ethnic heritage, or modern geography. There are many reasons there is not a competent modern anthropological analysis. I will address these reasons along with the behavioral historical analysis of human beings in another presentation. For me, one of the special things in life has happened, and I have waited a long time for. I can now look at people and see where their ancestors, my ancestors, came from, and most importantly, the behavioral historical record, which is part of our ongoing dialogue with each other as human beings on a deep and ancient level as we progress with our understanding of ourselves and our reality. And just briefly here, if I can find this, well, for the moment, that is the end of my presentation, Bantu the Human Language Genetics. Thank you for your time.